Greetings, citizens! Batwain is here to read Bunnicula, Nighty Nightmare. Always remember that as we go through these amazing adventures and read these outstanding stories, all you have to do if you want to follow along is like and subscribe. Now I think that the little zookeeper will be perfect to join us for today's adventure. Now that the little zookeeper is here, let's jump in. Things are not what they seem. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, strumming on the banjo and singing in fee. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, strumming on the banjo and singing fee-hee, fiddly-ee, fee-hee, fiddly-o-o-o. Hearing the Monroes' voices raised in song, seeing the warm glow of their faces, watching them sharpen their sticks in preparation for marshmallow treats, I was content. It had only been 10 minutes since Dog made that ominous remark at the water's edge. 10 minutes since I'd felt the cold wind run through me, but all that might as well have happened in another lifetime. For now, there was nothing more on my mind than peace on earth, goodwill to men, and the unopened bag of marshmallows lying at Toby's side. Listen to the happy campers, Chester said to the Monroes. I glanced over my shoulder to where he lay stretched out on a log, the firelight dancing in his eyes. How innocent they are in their merrymaking, while out there, somewhere in the shadows of the night. It isn't dark yet, I observed. In the woods, it's always dark, he said. In the forest of the soul, it is always night. Chester, I said, have you been reading Stephen King again? Howdy, folks. I was spared a book report on the arrival of Bud, Spud, and the inevitable Dog. Well, hello, Bud, Mr. Monroe said. We were just about to toast some marshmallows. Would you and your brother care to join us? Bud smiled awkwardly, as if he'd long been out of practice. Why, sure. That'd be right nice. That fire isn't gonna last long, though. Who made that thing? Pete cried, I did. Well, I don't know who taught you about fire, young fella, but that one's got as much life in it as a toad would just shook the hands with a steamroller. I'm a Boy Scout of America, Pete said proudly. I learned how to make a fire from a field book. Page 71, Toby said, coming to his brother's defense. You can't build a fire from a book, Bud scoffed. I'll get that thing going again in no time. Say, I tell you what, it isn't going to get dark for about another 20 minutes or so. Why don't you all go for a long around the creek? There's a pretty falls up there. You folks know this part of the lake? We've never been here before. We have a cabin across on the other side, said Mr. Monroe, looking as surprised as the rest of us at what had just come out of his mouth. I wondered if it was just a matter of time before we were all saying the same thing and howdy. Well now, Spud knows a lot of these parts like he knows his own name. Bud said, he can get you up Lotta Creek and Breadneck Falls before dark. And by the time you get back, I'll have this fire going good and strong. I saw Mrs. Monroe exchange a worried look with her husband. I don't know, she said. It's getting late. Our boys should be going to bed soon. Oh, Mom, Toby whined. We go to bed later than this at home. Yeah, Pete said. We have to toast marshmallows yet and sing some more songs. And tell scary stories, said Toby. We can't go to bed until we tell scary stories. The boys are right, Mr. Monroe said. This is meant to be an adventure, and you don't go to bed early in an adventure. Come on, Anne. Let's go. He reached out his hand, and Mrs. Monroe reluctantly accepted. What do you say, boys, he said, turning to us. How about a little exercise? Harold, with the way you've been eating lately, you could stand to lose a pound or two. I tried to ignore Howie's chuckling as I struggled to my feet. Dog came over. You're going to like Breakneck Falls, he informed us. 100 feet of falling water. For you droolers and spitters on our tour, Chester said. Here's one sight you won't want to miss. I have the feeling your friend is making a wise at my expense, Dog said with a snarl. And if he is, he better watch out. Threats don't frighten me, said Chester. Well, Dog said, as the light from Spud's knife glanced off the fire in our direction. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Spud! Bud shouted. Spud, take these folks up the falls. Spud, I'm talking to you. As we set off, Chester turned to Howie and me and said, how comforting to think that Spud knows these parts like he knows his own name. Now the truth of the matter is that it had not been for Mr. Monroe's quack about my weight, I might never have taken the hike. Vanity, thy name is flat. I consoled myself that after having worked off an astonishing number of calories, I would be entitled to an extra portion of s'mores on my return. But as I traveled the wet, buggy path up the Low-Water Creek, I began to worry. Not about s'mores, but about the night itself. I don't know if that was that Spud's silence which spread like contagion among the Monroes, or the unfamiliar sounds of the forest, but something was definitely beginning to spook me. By the time we'd reached Breakneck Falls, I was too unnerved by the creatures I'd begun to imagine lurking behind every tree along the way to care much about its beauty. My lack of enthusiasm disappointed Dog, but I suspect I was no more to blame than myself for the trouble that ensued after I commented to that effect. Ain't that a sight, said Dog. Wow, uttered Howie breathlessly. Not bad, Chester remarked. It reminds me, I said, of the time Pete left the water running on the upstairs tub. That all? Said Dog. Then I'll show you something that will really impress you. Follow me. He bounded off through the woods without thinking. Howie and I bounded off after him. Come on, Pop, Howie cried over his shoulder. I saw Chester look looking back and forth between us and the Monroes. "Come back," Mr. Monroe was calling. "Harold," Mrs. Monroe shouted. "Howie, come here." Spud spoke then for the first time. "Don't worry about them," he said. "Dog knows his way around the woods like he knows his own name." Spud might have had something else then, or maybe it was in the glint of the knife as he pulled it from his belt that he did. But the next thing I knew, Chester was behind us. When we caught up with Dog at last, there was just enough daylight left there to see what we were in the clearing of some sort, surrounded on all sides by tangled trees and vines. "Dog," I said, catching my breath. He regarded me with a vacant stare. "Dog?" "Actually, Dog's my nickname," he said then. "My real name is Toffel. It's German." "What does it mean?" I asked. "I know," Chester said, as the last remaining light fell away, and there was no one left in the stillness of the place but the four of us in the shadows. "It means devil." "Oh," I said. "Should we call you Toffel?" No. Dog's just fine. I wanted to clear up my real name, that's all." "Things are not always what they seem," Chester said to me. Then to Dog, he said, "Well, as long as you're clearing things up, where is whatever it is you wanted us to see?" "Well, that's hard to say," Dog said. "Well, where are we?" Howie asked, starting to whimper. "Oh, that's easy," said Dog. "We're lost." Oh wow! Things really just got interesting with Chester, Howie, and the rest of the gang. But Batwayne can always come to the rescue. What did you think, little zookeeper? I like that part too. We'll see you in the next adventure, okay? We'll see you in the next adventure. Here with Wayne Reads. I'm Batwayne, and we can't wait to read another book with you soon. Bye-bye!